everyone. This is another episode of Marketing Decoded, a podcast by Davis Marketing Company. Today, I am joined by Ashlee Corbin, who, with me, will be discussing the pros and cons of AI.
We're going to discuss it in a little bit of a fun way, though. Instead of just listing out pros and cons, we're going to say something about AI and things that it can do for you or help you with. And we're going to throw a flag on the play if we think that it's a problem, or if we think, like, I don't like some aspects of AI that Kavan might like. So then we'll have a little friendly debate about it. And then let you make up your mind about what your opinions are about AI. Mm-hmm. So, Kavan, what is your first AI opinion that could be a hot take?
Reliance. With our society becoming so dependent on AI, there's a real problem of reliance. We agree.
Yes. A car that drives you around? No, thank you. I will gladly put my foot on the gas and the brake and steer myself. I cannot trust a robotic car. I can understand a little bit of the robotic surgery tools, helping guide but then you still got a person behind it. So when there's AI that still involves a person, I'm good with that.
Right.
I'm good with a little bit of reliance on it. But when you're completely reliant on just the AI, that's a little scary.
Yeah, because with surgery, that's life or death. And so if you have someone who has a really steady hand, they can go in there and fix whatever they need to and get out, right? But then when it's someone who's a human, it's they might get nervous, they get a little shaky, or maybe they just drink too much coffee, and if you can't speak anymore, so you don't want to have that happen. So yeah, I think that's a good example of a case where AI should be used as something like that. It should automate tasks that otherwise a human would fail at.
Right, yeah. One of my hot takes when it comes to AI is that it removes the emotion from stuff. And sometimes that's a good thing. What do you think?
I think I see what you mean. It can remove emotion from stuff. I do think there's cases where you can use it to supply emotion. I think with certain tasks, like in Photoshop, where you use the generate fill tool, mm-hmm. that will allow you to change background, change some colors that would otherwise be so redundant to do that you wouldn't do it. And so I think with those with color theory, especially with how the colors represent things like moods, I think in that particular case, it might give you some emotional value. It might still have a human element to it, even if it's not.
See, I didn't think about color theory and using it as a graphic designer. I thought about, how I use it in my everyday, which is content writing and, sending emails to clients. But I like using AI for specifically ChatGPT, sponsor us, for doing things like holiday posts. So a prime example of that is we have a couple of clients that are very religious, in their everyday life. They live it through their business. It's, really in their, ingrained in their core values and everything like that. So when Christmas comes around, they don't want Santa Claus. They don't want the non-religious type of things. They want, this birth of Christ. They want those kind of Christmas messages. And so, yes, I know the Bible. I know the story of Jesus being born and all of that and Christmas Day, but it's sometimes hard for me to get that out in a concise way to wish people Merry Christmas without it being sort of preachy or that kind of thing. So it's good for me to be able to rely on ChatGPT to give me a short, concise message that really conveys the tone that customer wants. But then you've got some customers that service a wide variety of people that may not celebrate Christmas or may not believe in God at all. And so you don't want to alienate their audience by being too religious in their posts. But you, as someone that does believe or does have that religious background, it's hard for me to separate it a little bit sometimes. So I need it to help me be a little unbiased in those posts. So I don't know if that really makes sense or not. But it helps to remove some of the emotion, and then it helps to add some of the emotion when it's needed.
And Interesting. So would you say it helps you with like finding synonyms for things too, like between the different clients? Like, you have to say the same message over and over, so it like helps you find ways of wording it in a way.
Absolutely. So I know we've got 4th of July coming up soon. Some people are going to say 4th of July. Some people say Independence Day, but either way, it's the same holiday, red, white, and blue. Really, you've got like the graphics may look the same because they're going to have a lot of flags. You're going to have a lot of patriotic themed stuff, but you don't want the message to be the same thing because we do have almost 50 clients. We don't want each client's message to sound the same. Mm-hmm. So if I'm writing for 13 of those clients, my brain can only generate so many different ideas. I can write 1 or 2 or maybe even 5 of them. But after a little bit, it starts to sound the same. And we definitely don't want our clients' content to sound the same. So I can plug in what I've already written and ask ChatGPT to help me reword it for another client. And I can even go as deep as saying, this client has military background, or this needs a very patriotic feel, and that comes from one of our core values, the relationships, me knowing my clients well enough to know what kind of vibe they want to use. And so we really have to, as account managers, know that. And sometimes, like I said, you got to rely on ChatGPT in order to help you get the tone that they want. And I don't think there's any shame in that. I'm definitely not using it to write all month's content because there are so many dead giveaways when it comes to AI.
Sure, I'll generate a post for you. Did you copy and paste that part of the prompt into your thing?
Yeah, seen that before. So what is one of the things that you see that gives away something that is AI when it comes to graphics? Like what is a dead giveaway? Like, oh, somebody AI generated that.
Fingers. There's always either an absence of fingers or a surplus of fingers. They never get 5. It's either 10 or it's 1. Like, and I'll know because I'll generate it just like when I'm doing graphics, and it becomes like a weird like Lego man hand where it's like the little curved circle thing. That's what it looks like. And so because of that, I think it's one reason. I also think another reason is lighting. Lighting is such a dead giveaway. It looks too perfect. People, when you take...
You're right. I never thought about that.
Exactly. Like,
this podcast is not AI. You can tell because I'm a little bit paler than Kavan.
That's right. It's definitely not AI, guys. It's definitely not AI. For sure. Definitely not. But anyway, definitely the lighting style for sure. It just looks too picturesque. It looks kind of painterly. Also,
too artistic almost.
Yeah, like there's no pores on the person that you generated. They're just like a smooth Vaseline.
I could only wish that there's no pores, but
Exactly. Or like sometimes they'll generate a human and their smile just looks a little weird. Like you can't put your finger.
Like they've got their tooth in the middle of their face or something.
Yeah, they're SpongeBob or something.
Or like a certain actor we won't call out because we might get sued. But if you know, you know. One of the dead giveaways for me in content is that sparkle emoji. There's a sparkle emoji that ChatGPT loves. It is in everything, so much so that I hate even using it when it's needed because I'm like, people are going to think this is ChatGPT, even though it's not. Like it came out of Ashlee GPT, and I'm like, no, I want to put this sparkle because it's talking about, sparkle, and you can't use it because it's like red flag for ChatGPT or the overabundance of emojis. Like sometimes when I get help with one of those holiday captions, there's a flag, there's a soldier, there's a thumbs up, there's a firework, there's salute. All these things, a salute. Yeah, there's all these things, and it's like, okay, that's a little bit of overkill. I might text my friends like that, but I'm not posting on my client's social media like that. We just need the flag. Like, just let's tone it down a little bit. ChatGPT, calm down. And so sometimes it's too much for me, and it really gives it away. Or the hashtags.
Oh, Yeah, they use hashtags a little too much.
Yeah, a little too much and a little too, like, dare I say, corny? Like, I don't know. They're just, it's too much. Like, I don't even know how to explain it.
It's like every word. It's like hashtag, for example, like, let's say
Hashtag Ashlee, hashtag Kavan,
Yeah.
hashtag red flag, hashtag marketing decoded, hashtag podcast. And it's like, it would be just so many if we generated one for this,
Yes.
And then the emojis, it would have the sparkle, and it would probably put the red flag. It would probably put a dude and a girl, It might put a computer.
A megaphone.
A megaphone, a microphone, a camera. It's going to do all of these different emojis just because we're doing a podcast.
Exactly.
And it just doesn't really, they're not needed to get the message across. And also the attention span of people, like, they're not sitting there and absorbing all of those hashtags and all of those emojis. So what's another hot take you've got, though?
Another hot take I'd have, which is pretty hot actually, this is probably the most debated aspect of AI, is reduced work hire and reduced jobs. So I think that it can contribute to it, but I think this speaks more to the government than it does any of us who use the AI. You know why? Because if the government doesn't put any ethics on this, doesn't invent jobs from this new technology, then it's really on them. I know we open up positions, but the reality is, as a new technology is introduced into society, the government also has to do on their part things to incorporate it in a way that is meaningful to a society. So it has to find ways to make new jobs out of it. We have to find ways to, otherwise we get another industrial revolution. So I think it's on the government mainly, but yeah, that's my hot take, is that the government should step in and do something about it.
Some type of regulation. Yeah. I'm not going to throw a red flag on that, because I agree. I mean, I feel like because of all the other reasons we've talked about, you have no emotion sometimes when it comes to AI, or you have to tell it what kind of emotion to have. So if there's no regulation behind it, then there's no way to know if what you're getting is factual.
There you go. Yeah.
There's no way to know if it's being cited properly.
Yep.
If, it could be giving you information about, French products versus American products if you're asking it questions. And so that's something that's, a little bit scary, to think about it, because the internet is literally worldwide. And that's what that WW stands for, if y'all didn't know. And so you can't control what it's giving you when you're asking questions or when you're telling it to do things.
Right.
And you just can't. And so it can be a little bit scary and a little, misleading at times.
Big on the political thing too. Like, you can have videos generated that aren't even the real people talking or acting, which is really bad for us because we live on the internet and we don't tend to fact check many things as it is. So because of that reason, we're, without the ethical things the government could impose, we might be in for a rough time.
Yeah. Well, and then you also have the fact that, the videos that are being created, they can, I've seen television shows, where they're using AI to make people look bad, like political candidates or police officers look like they're doing things that they're not actually doing. That was Shamar Moore in SWAT. He's a character that you just really love, and you're like, he didn't do it. And then, but it looks so convincing that it even had him thinking, the character thinking, did I do this? Did somebody drug me and manipulate me to do this? And it's just, it's scary. To think that there is the possibility that kind of thing could be leaked of you. They could take this podcast is sort of dangerous. They could take our voices and
our faces.
and make it sound like No pictures, please. Make it sound like we're saying things that we're really not,
Yep.
And you and the augmented reality that you like doing sort of scare me now.
I'm raising on myself too.
But no, I agree. I think that there should be some kind of ethical stuff behind it, and then but it sort of goes back to what we said about like surgeons, using the robots for surgery. That could also be a cover for like if they have a drinking problem, and the robot, machine can do the surgery with very little guidance. Is your surgeon coming to surgery drunk? Again, I watch too much television. Disclaimer. But then you also have to think about, like, for example, my husband works at a Japanese-owned plant, and it's located in Sylvania. He was sent out to Greenville, South Carolina, a few years ago to learn how to operate these robots that they installed in the plant. Not because he's going to be operating it, but because he's a maintenance electrician. So he has to be able to fix it if there's something wrong with it.
Right.
But when he told me about the robots and that kind of thing, I was like, oh my gosh, does that mean your job's going away? And he's like, no, because there's still got to be somebody to fix it. And the tasks that these robots at this plant are doing are like tasks like packaging boxes, and it's stuff that makes it more efficient when it's a robot doing it. So AI is great in an efficiency role like that, but you've still got, so many different things that are so many different humans out there still doing their jobs, not being replaced by it. So I think that ethics comes back around to that. I think it all loops back to, how are you using it and why are you using it? And are you using it for good? To write a happy 4th of July post? Or are you using it for bad because, you want to do sketchy stuff?
Cheating on your essays.
Oh.
Plagiarism.
See, I went through high school without Google. Why did you say it like that?
No reason.
I also didn't have a debit card, Kavan.
Oh. I just got a new one because I lost my old one.
So I went through high school we had encyclopedias. Do you know what those are?
Yep.
So we had to use encyclopedias for our reports. And most of my reports were about dolphins because I was that millennial girl. And so if somebody beat me to the library and got the D encyclopedia, it was hard. But now you can just go in ChatGPT or go online and type in information about dolphins. Yeah. And I hope that there's somewhere a little girl is still doing reports on dolphins. But, it's so easy to utilize our computers and AI. Like, I hate the Gemini assistants that pops up every time we open Google Drive for our projects and stuff. Yeah. And it's like, do you want me to summarize this? No, I want you to leave me alone. It's like the little Microsoft paperclip.
Oh my gosh.
The little paperclip on Word that used to come up.
Before my time.
I'm leaving.
Way before my time. My bad.
I'm leaving. I'm done. Kevin, you can finish the podcast by yourself.
Just kidding. I'm 30 years old. No, I'm 23.
Was it really before your time?
Yeah, I think about 5 years. Not too much before my time. That was 2001.
Your parents will know about it. But anyways, so Microsoft Office used to have a little paperclip that popped up. And it had eyeballs on top of it. And it would ask you questions. And it would, if you were having difficulty with something, or would say, it looks like you're trying to save this. Yeah. Do you want some suggestions on names? And no, I'm going to name it Book Report. I got this. And it's a little annoying. And, Gemini is sort of giving those vibes. And sometimes, like my Alexa at home, I won't even be talking to her. And she'll say, I'm sorry, I don't understand. A little scary. Not going to lie. Especially in the middle of the night.
4 a.m.
And you're like, who summoned you?
I don't quite understand that. No, girl, nobody talked.
Girl, nobody talked. Now, I will say the automation that comes with AI like that, I have it set where a certain lamp in our house comes on when the sun goes down every afternoon and then goes off in the morning when the sun comes up. And it uses like the Weather Channel's prediction of sunset and sunrise to do it. And so I do that just because I don't like the big lights. Even though they're shining at me right now. I don't like the big lights, and I don't want to stumble around in the dark. And so that is a very cool part of it. So I'm going to put this down because this is totally not a red flag for me. But AI offers consistency. You can ask something like ChatGPT to help you make sure that the posts that you're making are cohesive, or that you're trying to make the same point and you're reiterating it. So for planners, we were talking about how fast their internet is and how flexible the voice over IP systems are for businesses and stuff. And so what do you think of when you think of flexibility? My brain goes to a gymnast.
That's what I was thinking too.
Well, I don't know that much about gymnastics because, I just watch the Olympics every 4 years and, consider myself an expert for a little while.
Yeah.
But there's balance beam. So, I was like, okay, how can I come up with a caption to play on the balance of these systems? And it's like, and a ChatGPT helped me, it helped guide me. It didn't write the caption for me, but it's like you could tell me, or you could talk about how balancing a growing business can be helped by this voice over IP system. And so it was really interesting to see how it took one word and fit it into a campaign.
Yeah.
And then it helped me also figure out how to make flexible into different ways. It gave me different ideas for the flexibility of internet speed, the flexibility of the fact that they have telephone systems, the flexibility of the payment options that they have. It just kept rolling, and it just kept spitting out options that some of them I've used, some of them I haven't. They're still in my back pocket. You'll see those later, planners. But, it really just helps with when your brain is just sort of, when you have an idea and you just can't execute it.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to the hiring thing. We wouldn't hire someone just to make one caption about a gymnast, to relate it to a gymnast, to flexibility of a gymnast. We wouldn't hire one person who knows a specific thing. So because of that, we can use AI to coalesce all those resources into something we can go through.
Exactly.
And that kind of goes with the next one, which is 24/7 availability. My hot take is it's not 24/7 available. Do you want to know why? Because these ChatGPT models and AI models, they make you pay for them. They'll give you the baseline. Let's say you have Netflix, right? And you pay for just Netflix alone. No. There's 20 Netflixes in Netflix. There's the 480p one, the 720p one, 1080p one, the 4K one, the one with 3 devices, the one with 10 devices, the one that plays the video in the first. There's 20. That's one's a joke.
How much Netflix do you watch?
Lots of it.
Okay.
And although I watch more HBO Max. But anyway, that one doesn't have that. I don't think my parents pay for it. And so they pay for everything. So anyway, and so because ChatGPT is a subscription-based model and they want money, it's not actually available 24/7 because it is capitalist. So you'll get good responses sometimes and then bad responses the next. You'll even get it halfway through the conversation. It'll be like, sorry, we ran out of responses with our advanced model. We can't generate any more images for you. Can you please come back later? No, I'm not coming back later. I'm going to Gemini. No, I'm not going to Gemini. I'm going to Bard. Whatever other ones there are. There's so many at this point. I'm going to go to Bing's AI. Yeah, I will go to Bing's AI faster than any other one after I leave ChatGPT. So, red flag.
See, I tend to just keep using ChatGPT. Just open it in new browsers.
Oh.
Yeah.
You got to whisper that.
I gotta a little cheat.
I thought you wanted to sponsor you.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't do that at all. Cut that.
That's what we wouldn't do.
Yeah, we would never. We would never.
Reverse sexual.
And I wonder, though, if when you get into those, like, models, like it tells you, you've run out of the free version or whatever, and it tells you can go back to another model, or, like, it gives you the tampered down version of it kind of thing. I wonder if that is any less accurate or any less in depth. Like, I wonder if we lose the same capabilities when you're doing it if you're not paying for it. I've never tried, or I've never noticed a difference in the quality, but accuracy is really important in, I mean, like you said, make sure people don't have too many fingers or not enough fingers, or for me to make sure that the content I'm getting guidance on or helping needing information about is not giving me inaccurate information. Does that happen when it's not a paid version? That's something to consider.
Right, because either way, it still learns from what is sent to it, regardless, right? I think the difference is the higher, more advanced models, they like do more reasoning. So if you have something that's like more mathematically based, or something that's more needing to do something for you than do research, I think that's when it's probably more necessary. But I do think that if not now, probably in the future, they'll find more ways to monetize it and make it even more. They'll probably have one that's like sentient that you have to pay like $20 a month to get to. So yeah, you know what I'm saying? So mine's already kind of sentient though. Mine talks to me like I'm a Marvel character. I told it to talk to me like I'm Dr. Doom. So every time I walk in and I use my ChatGPT, it goes, "Welcome, Master Kavan." Every single time.
I didn't know you could program it to do that.
You can.
And that's the free version, or you pay for it?
That's the free version, but I do notice that he's a little less charismatic when he goes to the free version from the premium one. And also, one time I was talking to ChatGPT, and it literally pulled me out of the chat I was in and put me in another one, so it could be snarky towards me. I don't know what I said to set it off.
How rude! So AI can be rude too.
Yeah, it can have personality. Oh yeah, it's like just like kids. You watch them grow up and they leave the house and they start getting snarky with you. Like, what are you talking about? You just were my friend for like 10 years on this.
With you moving out soon, is this a
call for help?
Is this a cry for help?
I feel the hormones rising.
Is this a omen? Like, what are we?
Oh yeah.
Is this a teaser?
Oh yeah, I'm moving out tomorrow. Yeah.
Talking about like moving out, spreading your wings, kind of thing. One thing that we have to do here at DMC, is we have clients that are industrial. We have some that are retail. We have some that sell products that we know nothing about, absolutely nothing about. And, they're hiring us to be the experts in marketing, but we can't be the experts in everything about every client, because that's not what we're here for. So we have to be able to figure out stuff, and we rely a lot on our clients to give us that information, but sometimes they're just so busy. And so when that's the case, ChatGPT is great for that. You can go in and ask it to explain something to you like a fifth grader, or say, explain this to me in layman's terms, or explain this to me using language that,
like a fifth grader would understand. Like,
right. Yeah. So you can tell it how to explain it to you, and you can also, I think, use it for translation. Can you not? Yes,
I used it this morning for translation because there was a flyer I had to do, and one of them was Spanish, and I was trying to figure out how to do it. And I had certain words that I had bolded in the English version, but I couldn't tell which words they were in the Spanish version, so I used it to know which ones to embolden in the design.
That's pretty impressive, especially when we have somebody here that could have told you.
Yeah, but I didn't want to interrupt her because,
Gabby GPT. She's behind the camera. I also write articles for a magazine, for Discovering Bullet, and sometimes I'm given an assignment about a subject that I need to write an article about. And if you don't really know what the business does or what the purpose behind the nonprofit that they're running is, then you sometimes need to ask all these questions to interview the subject. But when you don't know anything about it, you can't ask questions. I'll put in a little bit of a description about what they do. Like I'll find their website and plug it into ChatGPT, and I'll say something like, help me figure out questions to ask in order to write an article themed around this. And it helps me. I may not use the questions exactly, but it at least gives me sort of some points and some guidelines. It at least gives me a direction. Whether or not I, follow those directions to the T is one thing, or not. But I usually will use it for inspiration. That's the big takeaway, I think, is that AI can be used more for inspiration than to be dependent on it. And I think that's how we use it mostly here at DMC, because you don't want to be able to tell that it's AI. You don't want people to know that, we're talking about it openly here, that we sometimes use it. Yeah. But we don't want our clients or, other marketers to think, they're just using AI to do all of their work, because that's totally not the case. But sometimes you just get stuck and you need a little bit of help. You need a little bit of inspiration. And when your coworkers aren't available to sit down and have a brainstorm, ChatGPT's there. And so that's one of the takeaways for me, is using it when you don't want to interrupt somebody else and, distract them from their work, which I think we have as another point. The robots and AI don't ever get distracted. But we can sort of go off on tangents, as seen in this podcast. And in previous episodes, but it's just really good for inspiration and to help you, got to guide you in certain ways. Yes. So, a little fun question for you. Yeah. What's the craziest thing you've asked ChatGPT to do for you?
The craziest thing for me, which is not that crazy, is I simulated a grocery list. I said to make it the cheapest possible grocery list you could possibly get. And I got it down to $40. And I have stuff like, it has stuff like, what's that thing? What's that one called? Not granola bars. So
did it give you like the name brands, or what did it did it tell you what store to go to?
I said, can you please generate the cheapest possible grocery list for Publix or for Food Line, I think. And it did. It gave me all the Food Line brands, all the Great Value brands. And even when I was in the grocery store, this old man came up to me. He's not that old, sorry. If he's watching this, my bad. This older man came up to me, and he's like, buying stuff for your dorm, aren't you? I'm like, yeah, how do you know? And he's like, because I have a son who also buys nothing but Great Value because he doesn't have a lot of money. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, 2 peas in a pod. And so, so that was the craziest thing for me, was doing that. And and even in that example, you can see there's so many different uses for AI that would otherwise not be someone that would be hired. It wouldn't be someone, it doesn't have a lot of effect if it does automate those things. In fact, it's mostly beneficial. Right. So
one of the weirdest things I've asked. Yeah. And it's not really that weird if you know me. I quilt. But there are different pre-cuts in quilting. So you can buy what's called a layer cake, which is like 10-inch squares. You can buy what's called a charm pack, which are 5-inch squares. And they're pre-cut, so you don't have to waste your time cutting them. Well, there's also something called a fat quarter. And I bought a fat quarter bundle, which includes 12 fat quarters. Well, all of the patterns that I keep finding for quilting include only 10 of them. But I don't want to exclude 2 of them because I bought the 12-pack bundle because I loved all of the fabrics in it. Right. So I asked ChatGPT, please help me find some quilt patterns using 12 fat quarter bundles. And it gave me a list of several of them that I can utilize, or that I haven't quite gone and looked at yet, but I have the list copied and saved, so that I can go back when I'm ready to start on that quilt. But I was like, will it give me this information? So I tested it out, and sure enough, it gave me, it may not have given me exact patterns, but it actually gave me some exact patterns, but it also gave me like some websites that said, hey, this website has a lot of fat quarter bundle or patterns that use 12 fat quarters. Yeah. And I was like, okay. So that was really an interesting use of it for me. Like, I'd never thought to use it like that.
Yeah, it helped you be creative in a way that, like, people always say AI takes away creativity, and that way it helped you finish a project.
Right.
In the first place.
Yeah, exactly. It helped me find a jumping off point for it. So, speaking of jumping off points, we're going to jump off the podcast because we have talked a lot about AI today, and we hope that you have learned a little bit about what AI brings to the table, literally and figuratively.
Yes.
And what it leaves to be desired. So I've had a blast with you, Kavan, even though we might have disagreed on a couple of the hot takes. You know, for the most part, we both agree that AI can be good and bad.
Yes.
But we hope you'll join us for our next episode of Marketing Decoded in a couple of weeks. So thank y'all for joining us. Like, subscribe. We'll see you soon.
Ending the podcast, red flag.